out here at the Brooklyn 365-day celebration for Brooklyn Safe Street site.
Yeah!
Good afternoon. My name is Sean Weiss. I am the site director for Brooklyn Safe Streets, but I go by Weezy. So anybody out here and you see me, call me Weezy. I've been asked to do this as the MC for today's event. I don't know why, when we got the mayor out here. That means primarily my role is to introduce our special guests and keep the program moving smoothly. I will try to do my best. But before doing so, I want to take a few moments to share some thoughts about the neighborhood where I've spent most of my life and about the work we at Safe Streets do here. As you know, Safe Streets is a public health program designed to reduce gun violence. My staff and I pursue this goal in a number of ways. Every day we work to establish, build, maintain relationships of trust throughout the community. Every day we work to mediate disputes before they erupt into violence, gun violence. And every day we work to connect people with services they need to live their lives peacefully and productively. For this work to succeed and be a success in Brooklyn, Safe Street staff must have deep roots and ties in the community. For those that don't know, that means we have to have a rapport in the community with high risk and key individuals in this community. We have that. I've been in Brooklyn for 32 years. I have my fellow staff that's standing behind me. Altogether, we have over 100 years in this community. We know this place and we know the people inside and out. The people that we don't know, that just moved in this community, those are the people we focus to build with because we want to know them as well. The importance of our history and connections cannot be overstated. A lot of people in Brooklyn don't trust outsiders, but they know and trust Safe Streets. And they know and trust what Safe Streets can do to make our communities safer. Here's something that I know firsthand. The success of this program is not ours alone, but it comes as a family affair that comes from our stakeholders, our community partners, our high-risk individuals, our key individuals in our community. As a result, everyone here is responsible for the achievement of more than 365 days without a homicide in the Brooklyn Safe Streets catchment zone. Everybody deserves an applause. Everybody that's included. But you know what comes next, right? Just as everybody deserves flowers, everybody has more work to do. Definitely including our site. We work to promote peace. I say that again, we work to promote peace. Progress here in Brooklyn, we can't stop until this kind of ceremony is no longer necessary. Until peace is the standard and not a streak measured in days or months. Speaking of standards, I'm proud to introduce a man who is setting the standard of excellence and integrity for the city of Maryland, city of Baltimore. Safe Streets has been operating in for more than 15 years, but it has never had a better leader, more committed champion than our duly re-elected, my guy. Please join me and welcome Mayor Brandon Scott.
Thank you, Weezy. Good afternoon, Brooklyn. Dang, I thought we was in Brooklyn, not Cherry Hill. Good afternoon, Brooklyn. All right. Ain't nothing wrong with a little friendly South Baltimore rivalry. It is great to be back here in Brooklyn as we celebrate the accomplishment of yet another Safe Street site. Over 365 days without a homicide. Make some noise for yourselves, Brooklyn. 404 to be exact. We have the honor of being joined today by Councilwoman Felicia Porter, Director Mavronis from Muncie, the Executive Director of Catholic Charities, Bill McCarthy, at least for a few more months, Bill, and Janet Abrams, the President and CEO of HABC. This achievement of all of those days of counting of no homicides in the Safe Streets Brooklyn catchment zone is a yet another signal that this work, getting ahead of violence before it takes place, building community, and addressing the root causes of violent crime in our communities works and makes a big difference. It's because of that love and commitment together with our shared efforts to treat the disease of violence that we have been able to reach this milestone. That is no coincidence. Everyone here knows that Safe Streets is an important pillar of this community. Safe Streets Brooklyn is more than a violence prevention initiative. It is a family who looks out for and loves thy neighbors, especially when the mayor comes and beats people in basketball. This team, what? He can't crop it out. He already asked for his rematch. He already asked for his rematch, and we got the video, Weezy. This team was on the ground in the immediate aftermath of the July 2023 Brooklyn Day mass shooting support. This community, even when their own loved ones were among those impacted, and they have continued to be active, mediating conflicts, providing resources, and supporting our broader efforts to heal our neighbors in the months following that horrible tragedy. This is about people, Baltimoreans, coming together to wrap their arms around and cure the disease of violence that has gripped our communities for far too long. As of this morning, across the city of Baltimore, homicides are down 24%, and non-fatal shootings are down 35% this year, and that's, of course, on top of the historic 20% reduction in homicides that we saw last year. And as I always say, I want to be very clear about this. These are more than just numbers. These are lives saved, communities kept whole, and families who do not have to go through the lifelong pain of losing a loved one to gun violence. The progress that we made as a city approaching public safety the right way, treating this public health epidemic we all know it to be, emphasizing prevention and strengthening our neighborhoods would not have been possible without Safe Streets and all of our community violence intervention partners. And let me be very clear, everyone. We are all in this together. This isn't just a Safe Streets accomplishment. It's a testament to Brooklyn's resilience and the power of community. This is a community that has been disinvested in, neglected, and ignored for a long, long time. But together, collectively, we are saying enough is enough, and Brooklyn can and will thrive. In fact, even outside of the catchment zone, homicides are down 89% in this area, and non-fatal shootings are also down across the entire neighborhood. I see Bishop Watts here and all the other partners who have been doing great work in this community. I'd be remiss if I didn't also recognize each and every one of our local stakeholders and residents who've been a part of Monsi's work to continue and uplift and really empower this community. This is what Safe Streets is all about, community. Not everyone can do this work. It takes a special kind of person, or as Liam Nielsen would say, people with a unique set of skills. Credible messengers who can leverage the credibility to mediate these conflicts among those at the highest risk of being involved in violence. Safe Streets is an important part of the broader puzzle. No one piece is the same, but they all come together to create an ecosystem across Baltimore that is helping us build a safer Baltimore each and every day. Thank you again. Congratulations to Brooklyn. And with that, I will now turn it over to someone who doesn't need any introduction in Baltimore, especially at a Safe Streets event, my good friend, Executive Director of Catholic Charities, Bill McCarthy. Bill?
Thank you, Mayor Scott, and good afternoon, everyone. Before I go any further, I first want to congratulate the mayor on his re-election last week. Let's have a round of applause. Mayor Scott, your victory is an important one for the future of our city. I have been around a long time, but I've never encountered a leader who works harder than you to serve every neighborhood and every neighbor in our city with empathy, fairness, and excellence. Your re-election is an affirmation in part for your vision, planning, development, determination, and execution of the community violence interruption ecosystem. strategy through MONSE, other city agencies, and community partners. Obviously, there are other reasons as well. Our city is stronger, more vibrant, and our trajectory has never been better than it has been under your leadership. And for this, I'm not only grateful, but also hopeful for what's to come. There are so many good reasons to be optimistic about where we are headed as a city, starting right here in this neighborhood of Brooklyn. I know that nobody needs to be reminded about that tragedy that took place here less than a year and a half ago. We don't need the reminder because we will always remember those who were hurt and lost. But what we need to do, and what we do need, is a moment of reflection of what has taken place here since then, and the mayor did talk about that. For more than a year, there has not been a single homicide in the area served by Brooklyn Safe Streets team. More than 400 days. The importance and value of this achievement cannot be overstated because it is measured in the most precious resources of all, human lives. I, for one, am thrilled and thankful, and I know my colleagues at Catholic Charities feel the same. That said, I want to be clear. No one is declaring outright victory in our communal request to make this community as strong as the people who live here. We have work to do to extend and expand the peace, both in terms of time and physical space beyond the borders of this catchment area. But while we're not declaring victory, we're proclaiming progress. Safe Streets is living up to its name by making our streets safer for our children, our families, and our neighbors. This is not an expression of opinion, it's a statement of fact based on a growing body of positive results, such as milestones we're commemorating today. Earlier this year, the Surgeon General of the United States publicly declared what Mayor Scott and many of us in Baltimore have long known to be true. Gun violence is an urgent public health crisis in our country and demands a solution-oriented, evidence-based approach. That's exactly what Safe Streets is. Launched in Baltimore in 2007, Safe Streets is a community violence intervention program based on a national model and designed to reduce gun violence in neighborhoods with high levels of such activity. Safe Streets is staffed by carefully selected and professionally trained colleagues who have the ability to connect with those who are at the highest risk for involvement in gun violence, mediate disputes, as Weezy talked about, promote nonviolent norms for settling disputes, and connecting people with other people and with services. This is vitally important and challenging work. As we all know from our lived experience, conflicts among people are inevitable, but violence does not have to be. Even the most heated disagreements can be diffused. There can be a win-win outcome where everyone walks away feeling seen, heard, and respected. This is Safe Street's specialty, providing informed and neutral mediation to help people achieve peaceful resolutions. I want to thank Weezy and our entire Safe Streets team. Your lives are on the line to protect the lives of others. Let's give them a round of applause. By protecting and promoting the success of every single neighbor, you are helping the people of Brooklyn realize their greatest potential. I can think of no more meaningful service than the one you provide for all of us. Now it is my privilege, and I've been around a long time, but we have the best council representative in this district that we've had for decades. And so I want to welcome Councilwoman Felicia Porter. Backwards, go.
404 days. 404 days without a murder here in Brooklyn. Mayor Scott, I remember that night. I remember that night where we saw a broken community. We saw a community that not only had felt the ramifications of generational neglect, but they still kept surviving. We saw a broken community that did not want to come together. I know those calls, I was on those calls, that did not want to come together for a common good. But now today in Brooklyn, we see a community that is so tight-knit, so together, that we are literally changing the lives of these young people in our city. We are changing the lives one child at a time, one family at a time, and one community at a time. So no other person or family would have to deal with the pain of losing a child. That's what Safe Streets mean. When I hear people talk about, what Safe Streets does, that is what Safe Streets does. Safe Streets is a collaborator. They are a connector. They are a community driver in order to make sure that we are safe within our city, our young people have a safe place to be, and that we are always, always at the forefront of making sure that everyone returns home just how they left. Celebrate today, but understand that we have so much more work to do, family. And I'm coming to you speaking off the, what they say, speaking off the dome? Yeah, speaking off the dome. Speaking off the dome, because I want you all to really feel what's happening in District 10. Mayor Scott outlined so many great things that are happening in District 10, the statistics of violence that are reducing here, not just in Brooklyn, but within District 10. That comes through community, that comes through partnership, that comes through addressing the underlying issues of lack of employment, of conflict mediation and coping skills. That is what the resiliency of Baltimore needs to be preserved as, and that is what Baltimore and District 10 will be in the future. Thank you all so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Now we're going to call to the podium one of my big dogs, Miss Mavronis.
I've never heard that one before. Thank you. My name is Stephanie Mavronis. I have the pleasure of serving as the director of the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, working very closely with Catholic Charities, LifeBridge Health Center for Hope, and the Safe Streets program. I remember being about 24 hours on the job coming to Brooklyn last July, and to feel the mood of the crowd right now, to see so many faces who were there in the immediate aftermath of that incident who did not leave, who put their love for this community first, who put service to this community first. We are seeing transformation. And so we lift up that success of Safe Streets today, just to echo what everyone said before me, and we double down and recommit ourselves to the work that we have to do to keep this going. I remember going to a community meeting in one of the early days after the mass shooting, and people were talking about who does the community trust. And contrary to what we heard in the media narrative at times, Safe Streets was at the top of that list when you think about who the community trusts. This work would not be possible without that community trust at the fore. And so I want to make sure that we remember the role that you play, the relationships, the work, the love for the community. It is felt, and it's changing things here. We know that celebrating over 400 days without a homicide is an incredible accomplishment. We appreciate the ways that this has transformed lives for so many young people, for our older adults in the community, for our immigrant community. And we're still here, we're still organizing, we're still collaborating, and that work is going to continue. I want to lift up the fact that we have had 6 of our Safe Street sites achieve 365 days plus without a homicide. And so something's working, and Safe Streets is a part of that. We also celebrate the fact that over 1,000 mediations have taken place across all of our 10 sites since the start of the year. And so that work continues, and we never know about those incidents that did not happen. But we have to lift up the fact that transformative work is happening here. We have a responsibility to continue to invest in this work, to strengthen this work, to make sure all of our frontline staff have what they need to continue doing this work. And as the mayor said, this achievement isn't just about Safe Streets, it's about Brooklyn. This is a win for the community. This is a community win. Safe Streets couldn't have done it without the rest of the community. And so for all of the stakeholders and folks that I see out in the crowd today, thank you. This is really powerful, and looking forward to the continued collaboration. Turn it back over to Weasley.
So out here in Brooklyn, we do a lot of partnerships. Like, we partner with a lot of people, and like, it works. It really works. But one of my key partners, where it helps me get ahead and it helps my team get ahead of a lot of things that can happen in these streets, it comes from the bond that we have with children.
That's right.
So what I say to all my partners, all my fellow co-workers, all sites, man, we doing the right thing by locking in with this youth. If we continue to lock in with the youth, we're going to solve way more problems. We'll have way more mediations because it starts with the kids. And so I'm proud to call up my partner, Miss Carter from Baybrook Middle Elementary School. Just give them a little bit about us, you know, man, what we do.
I am Principal Carter from Baybrook Elementary Middle School. We are a community school here in Brooklyn. We are one of the schools that partner with Safe Streets, and we value their support, whether it be to mentoring our students, problem solving, participating in our events at the school, to even donating their time. And so we are proud to collaborate with them, and we look forward to the continued partnership. Thank you.
Thank you.
So also my guys, my team that's boots to the ground. They deal with key risk and high risk individuals every day on a daily basis. And we have a guy here that he pretty much was going through a lot, you know what I'm saying? Where to the point where he needed a lot of support, but he didn't have too many people to turn to because a lot of people turned their back on him. But he come from where we come from. And those, when I say we, y'all know who I'm referring to. So I'm going to introduce y'all to my guy, Adonis Spilliam.
How everybody doing today? My name is Adonis. Came out here, wanted to play around, couldn't get all my credentials. Then I was just like, man, I'm tired of this, man. I'm tired of living like this. I wanna have better things and move on with good things in my life. I'm young. I'm 22. I ain't really had nobody to go to. So, I was just like, and then I was just on drugs really bad. So I really I wanted to keep my body at a healthy pace. So one day I was just like, man, I'm done with all this. I'm through. I can't do it no more. So I went to the detox place. Did 30 days. Went through that. Then I found out about Christopher Place Employment Academy. I found out about it through Safe Streets. I know Weezy used to go to that a long time ago. That place right there really helps me. Usually, I sit in there sometimes, I tear up and be like, I'm blessed. I'm thankful for being in here. It's I really didn't have a lot of things, but now I'm living and learning more about myself and staying true to myself and just being patient while I'm going through the process. But that place, Christopher Place, really helps me a lot. It really helps me, like it, and I recommend. I'm not telling you what to do or anything, but all the young generations like myself, go to that place. That place right there will help you with anything. Anything you don't got, they help you. Dental, your GED. Speaking of GED, I started my GED class Thursday on the. Thank. Uh, I'm still working on a couple more things, but that's what I'm focused on my GED first. That way I can get everything in the right order. My main focus is just staying patient and striving through what I have to go through. And I love being there. And I appreciate all the Safe Streets for helping me out through all the thick and thin,
Yes, sir.
through everything. Uh, and thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, yeah, my man. So, like he said, Christopher Place is definitely a great establishment, and me personally, I came through there. I graduated from Christopher Place Employment Academy. I was class 27. I graduated 2009. So, but I appreciate everyone for coming out. And if there's any questions for the mayor, or, okay. Oh, my apologies.
For you first.
Okay.
It's a surprise. That's why. So this is a City of Baltimore certificate of recognition. On behalf of the citizens of Baltimore, I'm pleased to present this certificate to Safe Streets Brooklyn in recognition of achieving 408 days without a homicide in your catchment zone. It is my great pleasure to acknowledge, your continued efforts to create a safer city through community mobilization, sharing information, and hosting events and activities. As a result of your work, homicides rates in the broader Brooklyn community are down 88.9%. On behalf of the people of Baltimore, I commend your team for an outstanding job reducing violence in Brooklyn. Congratulations. Now I can take questions.
I do have to give a shout out to somebody. His name is Corey Winfield. We appreciate you, good brother. Continue to do the great work that you're doing.
Questions?
We've got a mic if you can step up so your colleagues can capture sound. Thank you.
Mayor Scott, how do you turn a streak like this and turn it into something positive going forward beyond just today so that way the momentum continues?
Well, I think that it's, again, I want to be very clear. It's not how I, by myself, can do anything. It's about how we can do it. And it's to continue to support this community and support Safe Streets, support the schools, support the families here. So collectively, we are continuing, as you heard from Wheezy earlier today, that it's not just about 365 or 400 days, that peace in the community is the norm that we come to expect because we are all working to build that peace, not just in the physical form, but in the mental form that folks understand that's where we should be. Thank you for that question. Mackenzie?
Hello. Good afternoon, Mayor Scott.
Hold on, Mackenzie. I got to turn you up.
Okay, sorry. I can project.
Oh, you're good.
Looking at the progress that's being made here in Brooklyn, especially given what we all know happened more than a year ago. The city has also used ARPA dollars to grow and expand the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement and several other programs. How is the city preparing to maintain the progress and the efforts when the ARPA dollars were a one-time infusion of cash?
Yeah, I think, and that's a great question, Mackenzie. Listen, we knew that this was a temporary thing, and this is why we're working to what we call institutionalize MONSE, GVRS, further institutionalize safe streets throughout this work. This is about us not always just simply relying on our federal partners, even though we, through our great federal delegation, which we know has another champion now, and Senator-elect also Brooks, but also about how we continue to work with our philanthropic partners, how we can continue to work better with our state partners, right, and how we as a city continue to reimagine how we spend city dollars. This work will not go away as long as I'm here, and we're going to make sure that we do the necessary work to make sure that it continues.
And then also, given where we are, the location of this event today and the proximity to the tragic mass shooting just over a year ago, what do you think today's event, what message does that send to the families of the shooting and everyone who is impacted, especially given the fact that no one has been arrested for the murders?
Well, I just want to remind everyone that people were arrested and were charged. Maybe not for murder, but we know folks that were shooting here have been arrested and and went through the criminal justice system. And we're going to continue to push on that until we can't push anymore. But the message to those families, to this community, as you know, you've been here several times following the shooting, is that we honored our word, that we were going to work together to make this neighborhood a safer place. And that work today, as you heard, we're not celebrating victory, we're celebrating progress, and won't claim victory fully until no neighborhood has a homicide in the city of Baltimore. That's what the message is that these folks stayed here. They remained committed. They showed up long after. Look, we're very appreciative of all of our local media partners from being here today, but we remember we had media from all over the world here when the shooting happened, and now that no one has lost their life in this neighborhood for 408 days, we're not getting the same recognition today, right? We are going to continue to be here to uplift this work in this community and continue to show everybody impacted that there is a better way as long as we work together.
One more, if I could, I'm sorry. Given the investigation, and obviously there was a lot of questions after the Brooklyn Day mass shooting, we know that the Safe Streets workers were here prior to the shooting itself, and the mediations that were completed by the Safe Streets workers, there were still questions about what exactly unfolded in that. Will the public ever see the details of those mediations completed?
So I think we've been through this a lot, Mackenzie. The same way we don't ask undercover police officers to give out their information, we are not going to do that with our violence intervention workers. Just because some sections of the media determine that they want to make Safe Streets this focus and sometimes make Safe Streets this boogeyman, we are not going to compromise the people behind these lives, right? Because that's what we're asking them to do, as you heard from Bill earlier, to put their lives on the line. We know the work that they do, right? We know what happens in that work. We also know that that work is inherently dangerous to do. And not for you or anybody else am I going to risk somebody's life just to make someone feel good or for a media hit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mayor, a couple of questions. First, dealing with the investigation that happened shortly after the mass shooting.
Yes, sir.
And some of the information that came out was talking about disciplinary action being taken against some members of the police department. Where does that all stand now?
So I think that has went through what we call trial board. What we'll do is give you the update about that. I'm pretty sure of that, Mr. Sims, but I'm not 100% positive. So, you know, there's a process that has to take place under Maryland state law, and that I think some of those processes have taken place, and we'll be able to give you the update. We'll follow up to see where it is, because I don't know if it's at a point yet where I can talk about it publicly under law.
Okay. Also, and this is off topic, We just recently lost another
Yes, sir.
employee from the Department of Public Works. Just your comments on that, and what other things need to be done to look at that department.
Yeah, I think that it's a extreme tragedy, and even though I've spoken to the family, I want to say again that the family and the coworkers have my condolences and the condolences of the entire city of Baltimore. But it speaks really to the ongoing work, right? When you talk about the investments that we've made in the DPW, even from simple as ordering new trash trucks for the same time in decades, which we've gotten some, but we expect a lot more to come in 2025 to finally be in hand for us to put the best equipment out there, and the work that we're doing, working with the union, working with the agency, working with the workers to build a better and safer department that has been ignored for a long time. Thank you, everybody.